I like to think of the plantar fascia as a passive spring, if you will. It has multiple jobs. It stores energy. It holds your arch up as you roll through your gait and push off. It holds your arch up. It keeps your foot together so you have a rigid lever to push off of. And as you're pushing off, that spring, it stores energy as you come up, as your heel comes up, and that spring unloads and pushes you off and pushes you forward. If you have heel pain and you've been rolling your foot on a frozen water bottle and doing stretches that you've seen here on YouTube, and your heel pain isn't improving, well, kudos to you. You certainly don't have an effort problem, but what you might have is a treatment problem. It might not be enough. What I want to explain to you is what the difference is between an acute issue and more of what we're getting into with a chronic issue that has been present for months, the condition and how the tissue changes that drives a lot of people's heel pain. Acute heel pain, early stage heel pain, something that I would call less than 6 to 8 weeks of presence of heel pain, is something that would be deemed possibly plantar fasciitis, if you truly have plantar fasciitis, that is. And not everybody that has heel pain has plantar fasciitis, but if it is plantar fasciitis, the itis part sets in initially and lasts about 6 to 8 weeks. But there's a key difference. If it's been going on for greater than that time frame, what can happen is you can develop something called plantar fasciosis. Now, your plantar fascia is on the bottom of your foot and it runs from your heel out to your toes. Often people have pain right here in their heel with first steps in the morning. There's initially some microtearing of this structure on the bottom of your foot called your plantar fascia. Those micro tears lead to inflammation. Your body tries to heal those. But because fascia is collagen, you get micro tears in there. If it lasts for a long time, you go into a state of chronic inflammation. And what can eventually happen is you can get scar tissue formation across that fascial band. That is more difficult to treat. And it's why I recommend early intervention after 2 to 3 weeks of failed basic exercises and stretching. Quick note on heel spurs. Yes, people often think that a heel spur is the problem. People often do have heel spurs, especially with long-standing plantar fasciitis. Truth is, 99% of the time, that heel spur is not the culprit. At times it is, and it's why we get x-rays, and it's also why an exam and evaluation are important, and so is clinical experience, frankly. But most of the time, the heel spur is not the issue. It's more of a sign of the chronicity or how long that fascial band has been under tension on where it attaches to your heel here. That tension over time leads to this calcific deposit and tension from the bone where you lay down some new bone as the body's response to that chronic pressure and tension over time. Speaking of tension, that is ultimately why you're in the place that you're in. Plantar fascia is a passive structure, and we call it a fascial structure because it runs from your heel bone out to your metatarsal heads and attaches to bony structures. So unlike a muscle, which you can see here, muscle has a muscle belly that attaches to a bone via fascia, but it runs out and it has a tendon, like a rope, that then attaches to it. It also has nerves that go into it that you can see here. And you can actively contract that muscle, which puts tension on the tendon. It actively contracts or moves something. So the difference between a fascial band versus a tendon is that fascia runs from bone to bone. You have no innervation to it. You have no control over it. You can't intentionally load it or strengthen the muscle belly as you can with a tendon, which we're often doing with tendinopathies or tendinitis, which is really a garbage term, but most people understand what a tendinitis is because somebody's probably experienced it one time or another. That's a topic for another day. But again, the difference is passive versus active. And because the fascia is passive, it undergoes load whether you intend it to or not. You can't splint it and you can't modify it. The reason that you get stuck in this cycle is because things aren't working properly, and the body is a master of compensation. You'll be able to compensate for things not working appropriately via passive structures like your fascia, and the fascia becomes overloaded. And when it's overloaded, there's too much tension on it, and that's why you end up with plantar fasciitis or plantar fasciosis over time. It's also why a comprehensive treatment plan is important in fixing these issues, because not only do you have to treat the source of the pain, but you have to treat the source of why it's happening in the first place. Every time that you're walking or putting your foot down, you're loading that plantar fascia. You can't splint against it. And a lot of times what people will do, and the most common complaint that I get, is they'll have pain on the outside of their foot. They'll think that the presenting symptom and the reason that brought them in is because they think they have a stress fracture on the outside of their foot, because they turn their foot like this to the outside consciously or subconsciously to not load the inside part of their foot here, to not load that plantar fascia. That is why this occurs over time. Your fascia, again, the take-home message, is a passive structure, and we need to work on the structures around that in order to prevent this from happening again and again and again. I like to think of the plantar fascia as a passive spring, if you will. It has multiple jobs. It stores energy. It holds your arch up as you roll through your gait and push off. It holds your arch up. It keeps your foot together so you have a rigid lever to push off of. And as you're pushing off, that spring, it stores energy as you come up, as your heel comes up, and that spring unloads and pushes you off and pushes you forward. This is where the force load becomes very important, and why managing force loads through that fascia while you have an injury or you have this heel pain becomes very important. This is where structured shoes, no barefoot walking, inserts come into play. How do we offload that further? This is where stretching and strengthening come into play. And I talk about these things as the base foundation of my treatment for any of my plantar fasciitis patients. If you don't have some type of weakness or tightness somewhere, I'm often suspicious if you actually have plantar fasciitis or if it's possibly a nerve entrapment or other injury that's acting like plantar fasciitis, actually. So those are the things that we look out for, the compensatory mechanisms that we see with the outside of the foot pain with plantar fasciitis, and why this tends to be such a nagging issue. You can't offload it. So what's the goal here? Well, my goal specifically is to, one, help start reducing the pain today. But it's not just Band-Aid. I am not a Band-Aid treatment person. My goal is to ensure that you have a long-term solution in place, that you have quality tissue that you can rely on to be able to do the activities that you want to do, whether that be walking, playing with your grandkids, playing pickleball, playing tennis, training for a 5K, or whatever it may be that you want to do, walking down Bayshore. My goal is to ensure that you're able to do that safely and appropriately and long term. Send a comment. I'm going to help point you in the right direction. If you're in the Tampa area and you're unsure about your treatment, or you've been dealing with heel pain and haven't seen anybody, you can book an appointment with us at Bayshore Podiatry. There's a link in the comments below or in the pins below that you can book online with us. I'd be happy to help you out, and either Dr. Niehaus or I, we have the same treatment philosophy. We're here to get you better.